Peace and namaste. Peace. Hi, Robert, Tiffany, Art, Elaine, Mary, Kristen, Sean, Betty A, Sarah, David, Jimmy, Tim, Jeff, Kitya, Asta. Where did that go? It slipped away from me. Where did it go? David, Kitya, Asta, Rose, Candyman, Quiet Energy, Ellen, Beth, Ellen C, Sachi, over there across the sea in Amsterdam, Wanda, Vasilia, Vineyard Worker, Mo, Michael, M, Jake from Sydney, Montana, where I have actually been, and Freedness. Good morning, everyone. Peace and love. Peace and namaste, everybody. Namaste and peace. I'm back from the iands Conference 2022 carrying a transformative presence shared between the community there last Sunday morning with matching physical manifestations and multiple dimensional and unexpected transformational self-realization for me. I'm sure it happened for other people too, but I can only tell my story. Maybe you should tell yours. Self-realization. It's not just a one-time thing. This is an extemporaneous oration titled A Column of Sacred Fire and Tears. Several of our not church friends who are here this morning attended last weekend in Salt Lake City. I'd love to see your comments in the chat and especially maybe talk about it at Mr. T SALON today, returning live at 11 a.m. There's a link in the description. It's our private mystics forum for public speaking in safety. Genesis 1:27. All living beings are made in the image of them. At iands, we experienced the collective connection of their image. Capital C, collective, capital C, connection, capital T, and I, their image. We experienced this collective connection of their image in us and among us. This journey of ours, this spiritual, mystical, I almost said mythical, and it is kind of mythical too, journey of ours, because it tells the truth without necessarily, that's a capital T, without being able to be true, because there's no way to be able to be saying it. This journey of ours, this mystical journey of ours, is in remembrance of the inner image. It's a remembrance of your inner image and mine. And we're going to talk about that today. But first, let's do a little meditation this morning. And I know I talk about not using imagination. Well, there comes a time where you might want to try it. Thanks to Ken, who continues to bring this to our attention. All right, so imagine this spot here. Maybe where your baby soft spot was, where your skull came to finally come together. At that spot, for me at least, there's a pressure point there the size of my fingertip. From that point in, imagine a silken thread, a single thread of silken white light entering into you as you meditate and spinning on a spindle thread for you to dispense during your day. You spin a spindle of white silken light in the pit of your belly when you meditate. So today, somebody asked me why I don't talk about this chakra much. Well, I had quite the experience with this chakra over the weekend, so we're going to be talking about more of that today. But during our meditation today, as you breathe in, this is the center point here, the third eye, and if someone asked me if I'm feeling here, well, I am feeling here because I can't really feel my brain because it doesn't have any nerve endings, but I feel here, and I also look with my eyes there. I aim my eyes there on the inside of my head. Sometimes you can't see me doing that, but I sometimes do this, and I aim my eyes there. It's just a little aside for you. It hurts a little bit, okay? Hurts the eye muscles a little, but I aim my mind here. And today, after you begin your meditation, aiming your mind here, try aiming your mind right there. That one spot. Just give it a try, see what happens. If that doesn't work, Aim for the crown of your head. Aim for the where the crown would sit upon your head, right there, if you were a queen or a king. So let's begin. We begin with 3 ohms for vocalization. And vocalization really helps. I vibrate my heart, my throat chakra, and my third eye. That's what I do. Instead of just om, I'm at giving it 3 distinctive sounds. If you like just the singular om, feel free. Be my guest. Here we go. And then into your meditation. And if you're new here today, it's simply a breathing in through your third eye with your breath focused to the pit of your belly on a prayer. Pick a prayer for today, some favorite prayer that you know. Or if you don't have a prayer, pick a word or a number or the word love or peace. And we're just going to ride it on our breath down to our belly and back up again. And just repeat that process. When your mind wanders, always return to your prayer word, your chant, your mantra. Here we go. Meditate, follow your prayer. A few breaths. Remember your crown. Genesis 1:27. All living beings are made in the image of them. Appropriate capital letters, of course. The image of them. All living beings. A column of sacred fire and tears of joy. At the iands Sunday morning meditation, Professor Tricia Barker, trained in theta healing by Dr. Allison Snowden, led the Sunday morning gathering. Long ago, years ago, Tricia and I had discussed meditating together in the group at iands. This was our first opportunity. I sat in the front row and she stood on stage, and her luminosity, contained in her words and her knowledge, guided all of us into a very deep meditation. The quietude of the room was energetic, illuminating. I could only know my experience when it was happening, and I'll tell you that in a few minutes. But I want to talk about the evidence that came at the end of the meditation. At the end of the meditation, Trisha stood on stage directly in front of me. I was in the front row. She was right there, illuminated by the spotlights. And she wiped away her tears. And she said she cried during the meditation. My eyes had been tearing in meditation. My eyes never tear. Well, that's a big word, never. Once in a great, great while, over my lifetime, I've cried in meditation, but it is not a common thing in my life. But my eyes, I wasn't bawling. My eyes, I was just wet beneath my eyes. Another woman, an NDEer from Connecticut, after Trisha had walked off stage, approached Trisha and said that she too found herself in tears and never cries in meditation. And a man came up, and I'm not sure where he was from, but he was very helpful to me during the conference. Maybe his name was Jim. He said he too had been crying and never cries in meditation. And I joined the group. And I said the same. Sometimes in a very powerful meditation, there's physical manifestation of the human body. 4 near-death experiences, and I don't know who else, found themselves in tears on Sunday morning, moved to tears by the power of the presence. That may not sound like much, but the illumination that radiated the room was experientially palpable. A vibration of higher energy filled the sphere of the space. We've been building toward this throughout the weekend. Talk by talk, individual communication by individual communication, group gatherings in all these different rooms and in private and in public, building toward this meditation, which was illuminative. And that's the word. In my meditation, a crazy, unexpected thing happened. I was in my meditation, listening to the voice of Trisha, but also letting that fill into me, but doing my own thing. Because when you meditate, you can't shut off your ears unless you're wearing earplugs. I can't shut off my ears. I can't not hear in meditation. I listened to her voice and I did my own thing. And and I have to go way back here, okay? I have to tell you 2 little stories that maybe you've heard before. The thing about near-death experience and mystical experience is that they keep on giving. And they give truths with a capital T. I didn't understand what was shown to me when I was on the Appalachian Trail. And an out-of-body ecstatic vision carried along the silver cord by my friend, the angel of death, my friend, the angel of light, who took me from my body the year before I died and brought me into this sphere of heaven, this void of darkness, this energetic living being that is no thing. And I was inside the angel, inside this energy ball, and this column of fire. I still had a physical body. I had not like a molecular body, but like a body of light, still shaped like me, but a body of light. And a column of fire erupted through me. I've told you this before. I didn't understand it, okay? This weekend now, I understand it. When I was at the monastery at St. Joseph's Abbey in Spencer, Massachusetts, where was I? I wasn't there. I was at Snowmass in Colorado. Theophane Boyd was there and Thomas Keating was there, but I was in their chapel, listening to them in their Gregorian chant, and the room filled with a radiation so much similar to what happened that Sunday morning that brought us to tears. And as I sat there on the bench diagonally, I had the sensation that I was being watched. And so I opened my eyes and I looked, and there was Theophane Boyd sitting in the corner, staring right at me with his blue eyes and his huge Adam's apple like Ichabod Crane and his tall body, intently staring at me, and he was a column of fire that extended through the roof of the ceiling and around his body and down to the floor, the stone floor. In this meditation on Sunday morning, I went to my crown. I told you sometimes, I've said, I ignore my crown mostly because it's the most difficult. I've had it open in that Kundalini experience, kapowie, on the side of the highway, kapowie, it was open and I was illuminated. It's been opened. I've had the silver cord, the silver thread spinning into my belly for decades. This column I decided to focus on in my meditation. I don't know why I did. Oh, I know what happened. Wait a second. There were other things that happened first before I got to the column. So I've told you in the past how chakras are points. They're like, I found them. This is how I experienced them. They're like points of energy inside my body. They were like flat plates, sort of. That's the way they were represented a lot. But then they became these balls immediately. Once I started looking at them, they became balls of light that I then connected, right? So I'm writing my chakras and I'm working to open them and out to my hands and down to my feet. I've told you all of this. And then I've told you when at one point after, before I died again, I had this illumination that came as a result of having stayed up way too many nights, drinking coffee. No, no, that's not right. No, I was at the public television a thon, fundraiser-a-thon, and I was a speaker, and I drank too many cups of coffee, and I was up too late, and I couldn't sleep the next morning, and I meditated instead, and I was rocketed out of my body, and I went I'm going to skip all what happened to me on the other side to get to the point where when I came back, my sacral chakra opened like a flow. And once I learned, and then it shut off after 6 months. And this peace that had been flowing inside of me, it was kind of two chakras. It was like sacral and solar plexus. There was like this illumination that poured through in a wide beam. And then after 6 months, it closed down. After a period of time in my meditation life, I learned how to open it again, the simplest thing, just by looking at it and thinking open, and it just started to open up. And then the chakras became these tubes. Instead of being balls, they became tubes, like beams that like a spotlight beam, and they extend out behind me. And then I started adding other ones. And below the camera, what I often do is I channel my heart beam at you, or my end of my throat and my belly. I beam, and then in meditation, I began this other thing with all of you. I started beaming out my chakras at you, trying to get out of the way. Okay, I am getting out of the way. That's the practice. Self-emptiness, no self-filter. And then I started shooting them out my back. The first time ever I did that was at the conference on Sunday morning. I started shooting them out my front to connect with Trisha. And then I decided, I was sitting in the front row, I'd shoot them out my back. And so I had this balance between these two places. And then I decided, big room, spread them wide, wide and thin. And they became colors when I did this. I could see their colors, not clearly, okay, I'm not good at that. But I could see their rainbowness in a collective. This rainbow of, instead of just being out like this rainbow of light that goes out and front and behind, it became this flat plane. And when it became this flat plane, this expansion of myself, this larger radiance became even bigger, like those Russian stacking dolls, only I was the outermost doll and all the innermost dolls. And it became larger and larger. And me, my physical being, was the innermost doll. Well, let me say the second one in. So the innermost being was the light itself, is the light itself. And then my physical shell was this other shell, and then on this physical shell. And then going outward, it became, I'm like, I can't describe you how big it became. And meanwhile, I'm in no thingness. I am not thinking. I am pushing this out, and so I'm like just riding this out. I'm with it, and I become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I think to myself, the column of fire. I think to myself, the column of fire, this thing I've never tapped. And I drove my breath down into my root chakra and up to the crown of my head to the center point, and the column erupted. And the column opened the top, and this flow then began to pour out. It was like this column that was going up and down inside of me, like a column, like a that fit inside my body, fire up and fire down. And then I thought about Ken Gilligan, Dr. Kendall Gilligan, who comes here and he said, use your imagination. And it turns out I've been using my imagination with this. I've been using the idea, but not grasping onto the imagination. It's not that the imagination is evil or bad, it's that it can become a trap. And so use it only in ways that language is not attached or minimally attached. And so I drove this eruption, this column, out like a flow to the outermost edge. And it became like this flow that went through me and around me in this outermost shell, and all of the shells on the inside, including my physical self, while the column erupted above and below me. I'm now sort of a wider column way above me, initiating way up by the top of my outermost self, and down through me and surrounding the room inside of this collective experience of the power of the presence of God. And I think two things happened here. Three things, okay? Three things happened here. Tricia Barker's training with Dr. Allison Snowden, the collective power of the near-death experience in one single room, those of us who were there, and all of the other people, including people who were here. And I want to hear if you had an experience there. I know you're here today because I saw you. And so when we're in Mystic Tea Salon, I'd love to hear about your Sunday morning or anything else you want to talk about. This is my pinnacle experience. Everybody has an NDE story or two or 10 to tell about illumination. This is mine. Inside of this collective, this connection of community that was a radiant bubble of a vibration that was so startling it lasted a long, long time, even after I turned up the house lights, which I should have left down. Not the only mistake I made that week. But the power of the illumination interior, the interior illumination, superseded, at least for me, the power of the light in the room. But as a collective, it would have been better to leave the lights down. As it was, after this experience that I had, Tricia, Felicia, that's her name, I think, and Jim, I think, and I had tears. There was this vibratory energy present. And I know that in Genesis 1:27 it says, humankind made in God's image. God is plural there. That them is us. That oneness is the divine. Oneness is the divine. But we are also a collective in it. The simplest thing about the spiritual life, the simplest thing, it's simple. That's the thing of the spiritual life. It is simple. It's not complicated. It doesn't take knowledge. Knowledge helps, okay, but it doesn't take knowledge. The experience isn't in the knowledge. The knowledge can help lead you into the experience, but the knowledge is immaterial to the immateriality of the experience. The divine presence supersedes language and is experiential. I need a drink of water. Like all spiritually transformative experiences, every single spiritually transformative experience, every single mystically transformative experience leaves wisdom in your soul. You become marked with this knowledge inside you that is ineffable. We've talked about this. But you are transformed by this in some way. 1 degree on a sailing boat's course or a ship's course over a very long time goes to a very different place. These transformative experiences, which are awakenings, and I want to say this about belief. I had never said this about belief, I don't think. The desire for belief is a form of awakening. Just so you know, all these other kinds of realizations that come, continued awakenings and realizations and understandings that come in an interior illumination of either, however your mystical experiences are, because we all have overlapping but different, because everybody's an individual. That's what, I don't see her book here, it must be still packed away. Evelyn Underhill in Mysticism talks about that everybody's mysticism is different than everybody else's because we're all individuals. But we all share such similar things as the interior golden light and the silver cord that you travel upon, and the radiant expansion of yourself and the oneness of being. All these, this peace, this joy, these tears of joy. I wasn't in some kind of joyous ecstasy. They were just leaking out of me, not like a flood, just enough that I had to wipe myself. I had to open my eye and let them flow a little. This mystical experience that you've had, this transformative experience, if you have another one, and that's what meditation is for, it's to dig your way back and make yourself sensitive and open to the presence itself so that you can connect in your interior while we connect on our exterior and this large orb of ourselves right here, right now, through this lens, on this microphone, in our collective of your hearts, in timelessness, quantumly entangled by light, the light itself. We are photons quantumly entangled, all the same and all individual. For me, I'm still trying to figure out what happened to me. I changed on Sunday morning. I don't know what this means. I don't understand the after effects. Except for I can tell you what I feel. I feel bigger. If I never reach that place again, if that never happens to me again, and I know we all want our mystical experiences to continue and to go back to the place where we were. Well, in my experience, I never go back to where I was. It's always somehow connected there for sure to where I'd been, but it's always new. I am experiencing after effects from this. I don't know if they are physically manifested in the world. I know they're physically manifested inside of me. Everything looks different again. There's a how do I explain this? There's an extra radiant illumination of protection, of safety, of understanding, of self knowledge, of, and I still make mistakes, okay? Be clear and understand this. This is not about human perfection. The human body is imperfect, period. It begins and ends that way, and in between it is. Everything here is. Nothing here is perfection with a capital P, but I am talking about perfection with a capital P, not my physical self, not my brain, not my words, not my actions, not my emotions, not my eyes, not my fingers, not my jazz hands, none of that stuff. None of it. And all of it. This radiance that happened that Sunday morning, I don't know what to say about it, but at the next iands conference in Virginia, we should meditate together again. And Trisha, I nominate Trisha, and maybe if Allison's there too, to run the meditations. I have no power. I have zero power in iands. I like it that way. Peace and love, my friends. I haven't looked at the chat at all. Let's see. Before I close, this was extemporaneous. I did take some notes, and I do have my teleprompter just so I don't forget stuff, bullet points. But if Not Church feeds you, subscribe on YouTube. We're almost at 12,000 subscribers. We're about 25 away or so. Give a guy a hand. Give a guy a hand. Help him out. Like the video. And thanks for your gifts. It's because of gifts that I was enabled to go to iands this year. It's because of gifts that I can be here every week. We're running this on a shoestring, but it's a strong shoestring. I appreciate that. I appreciate the strength of the shoestring that you keep supporting me with. It's very strong. Did you know that you could probably hang your hand on a shoestring? You can hook it on, tie a knot in it, and then make a loop and put your hand through it and hang on a strong shoestring. You can hang your life on a shoestring, a strong one. You're the strong shoestring for me. My life in the physical world is enabled in my professional life because of you and your gifts. And I want to thank you, and I want to acknowledge that. You make it possible. PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, and Zelle. And if you want to have a private session, book a time with me. I'd love to talk with you. Panagore.love. That's also how I earn my living, which is why I charge. So thank you. I love our weekly chats. I'm going to be looking at the chat in a second. I love our weekly chats. I'm going to go over there and take a look and see what's going on. I'm going to get a drink of water first here. That way you didn't have to hear me slurpy, slurp, slurp. Thank you for the super chats, my friends. I see. Where's my mouse pad so I can move my cursor around? I can say thanks. Mary S., Vicky McClintock, and James Toole. Thank you very much for your super chat this morning. If you all have questions or words that you want me to see for sure, super chat's a great way to do it. If you said something earlier in the chat this morning and you want to bring it back up again so that it's easier for me to see it, drop it in the chat. And I'm going to, let's see, where should I begin? Should I begin at the bottom? Is it in the super chat? How do we give? Thanks, Mary Jo. You can give in the super chat, but YouTube takes a large chunk of money out of that, a high percentage, which is still great. I appreciate this. Panagore.love. But super chat is great. I love it. Thank you, Mary Jo. Excuse me, pardon me. Thank you, Mary Jo Myers. I appreciate it. As I do to everybody who gives. Oh, yes, I did. Anyway, so bada bing. Bada bing, says Jay. So Jay's an NDE-er. I'm glad to see you here. I feel like doing like a jazz riff. I got my fingers snap it. Bada bing. I had myself pictured in like a club in New York in the 40s for some reason. And anyway, let's see. That's the musical interlude. Peter, you may need to look, as it sounds like you're talking into a tin can. I'm talking to a tin can. That's hopefully anybody else experiencing the tin can thing that Brother Rob, my dear Brother Rob over there in Wales across the ocean from me, is hearing. That would be a bummer if that's true. If that's true, maybe I didn't do my mic this morning. I thought I had my mic on. Does this tap, tap, tap? Anybody else hearing that? Love all GOT seekers. Yes, it's Robert, the Gospel of Thomas. Good morning here. Good morning, Peter. MJ from Virginia. I'll keep spreading the word about this God-sent program. Thank you for the gift of your time and energy. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thumbs up on my PC and let me do it again, and then I watch it on YouTube on my TV. Nice, thank you. Be sure to like this video. Thank you, says Quiet Energy. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Your light shines, Peter. Thanks, Kristen. It's our light. Everybody's got a, the city of light is a city. We're all that city together. Thanks. Glad to be here, Mary from New Mexico. Brother Rob, thumbs up. Thanks, Brother Rob. Maureen, just observe with no judgment. Is it too big for us? Reflect, no desire, no distinguishing, no attachment. It's too big for human beings, but it's not too big for the divine. It's not about attaching to self. It's about the opposite of that. You're very blessed. Thanks, Tim. With love in your heart, it's easy to understand others who seek how they describe their quest, says Robert. Maureen, I do not think that we are meant to understand it. We are not to be analytical, to use opportunity to let it go, simply surrender. Exactly. But don't be satisfied with stories how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth without complicated explanation, so everyone will understand the passage. We have opened you, Rumi. Thanks, Mary. Beautiful, Peter. I wish I could have been there Sunday morning. I was brought to tears by your talk on Friday morning. The energy at the conference was lovely and powerful. So it was, Sean. Good to see you there and meet you. To contemplate the infinite is hard for clothes of this physical realm, thinking of saying mysterious ways where there are three, they are divine, where there are one or two, our Savior is there, says Robert, and the Gospel of Thomas. I have knowledge, every cell in my experience. I have the knowledge, every cell in my being craves the experience. Every cell in your being is the experience, Jimmy. That's the part of us that's hard. It's a cellular layer thing. It's right inside of every single part of us. You are so right on. I agree. It was a powerful meditation, says David. Hello, Catherine. Thanks for being our administrator today. Hi, Lynn. Thank you for welcoming me back. Now in sync, says Maureen. Yo, Jay. Since nice to remind that they are not flat plates, not even just three-dimensional spheres, primary feathers. These chakras are they connected to these outer layers of myself. I don't know how they expanded out, and when they expanded out on this plane, this outer layer of myself sort of appeared with it. And then when I grabbed then I could see this column, and as I could see this column, the whole thing just became so much bigger than me, so much bigger than my physical self, but me, myself, my capital S self, my capital M self, my true self, my soul, my consciousness, my higher being, my higher vibration, I don't know, what do you want to call it? My chi, my life force energy, my force be with you. May the force be with you. Tears can be a sign, and what experience reading, listening to, seeing, or feeling to understand this physical place expresses itself to one in many ways. Every time you cry out of the sake of beauty, be it at a tree or a sunset or listening or reading, as Robert says here, it's a divine awakening, a moment of the divine presence. Can you sound here too? Oh no, sound is good for Mary. Okay. Maybe it's the stream you're on. I don't know. Sound is fine for you, says Mary. Thanks, Mary. Hi, Vicky. Mike does not sound like it used to be. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Headphones make the sound better. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Turn it up. Turn it up and take the tinny, I guess. All right, I thought I checked the mic before this began, but I checked it in Zoom. I may have made a mistake. I sometimes do. I always do. I'm making so many effing mistakes. Such is my life. Okay. Yeah. Sound better, has been better for me, but it has started, maybe problem on my end. I love your enthusiasm and openness to the mystical experience. There is a joy about you. It's contagious, Peter, says Asta. So this joy is reality for all of us. If you go to Peter's website, there is a donate button that will take you to a PayPal option. Thank you, Tim. Peter, I think your headphones are plugged into your mic. I just unplugged my headphones. It does sound like feedback. All right, I shut off my speakers. does sound like well, I had my headphones plugged in. That's true. Okay, so I've gotten in the habit of unplugging. I can't turn the camera to show you. Well, I've unplugged the headphones and I've gotten my outside mic. I've gotten the habit of unplugging that altogether. And so, all right, I need a producer. I think I do. Christine, good morning, Peter, and everyone from Redondo Beach, California. Nice. I heard you got some rain out in California. I hope it didn't like flood and mud, but I'm glad you got rain. You all need it. Still sounds okay to quiet energy. Don't worry about Peter. We can understand. Thanks, Tim. All right, my friends. We've been here 40 minutes. We've got 67 people here. Oh, let's see. Henrik, audio quality is slightly worse than usual. Okay, it mustn't be this guy. I think. All right. So anyway, it's hot. Oh, what? Oh, it's hot, says Christine. I thought the mic was hot. I was like, oh yeah, it should be. I don't know. Yeah, it's hot, very hot. So you didn't get rain. Didn't cool it off for you. Okay. All right. So we see you at Mystic Tea Salon at the top of the hour, at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and that's in about less than 20 minutes. Link is below. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your love. Thanks for everything. Peace and love, everybody. See you soon. Top of the hour. Oneness of being. Here, I'm going to do this first. Peace and love, everybody.